Friday, Floss Tube. It is Friday, October 25th, and that means we are approaching the very last weekend of the month, which means that Sunday, this coming Sunday, is high tea. We like to celebrate high tea around these here parts with something special from the stash, either a new start or a project that you haven't worked on in a long time that you've been itching to get back to. And it's just kind of that little bit of, self-indulgent allowance to enjoy something that is just special, that you've been hanging on to, maybe saving for good, and it's about time to use it. So I am working on my ink circles piece today. This is the Damask square. As you can see, I'm doing it in quite a different color than the called for. And different linen. I'm stitching this on a pre-finished fabric square. Now, I have been telling you, if you've been watching my previous videos on this piece, I've been telling people that this was a Zweigart fabric, and it is not. I was wrong. Kathy, I see her once a week still. My friend Kathy, who used to be the owner of my local needlework shop, and she came over and we were actually having a little bit of a stitch afternoon on Wednesday, and I said, oh, this is this lovely Zweigart fabric that I got from you. And she said, oh, that's not Zweigart, that's Ubelor, which I believe is a European fabric. I don't know much about it, and I'm sure she's told me in the past about Ubelor, but that it in fact is not Zweigart. So sorry for leading you astray before if you were wondering about this. I think Ubelor is difficult to find in North America, if I'm not wrong. I'm hoping maybe one of our European friends will jump in and maybe they know of a source where you might be able to find it if you're interested. Okay, so this is a pre-finished, sort of like a, table square or something like that. It's got a hem stitch already pre-finished all around the outside, and the corners are done. So once the stitching is finished, it's fully finished, ready to go. So I've made some progress on that this week, mostly due to a couple of different stitching afternoons that I had, an hour here. I had a couple hours on Wednesday with Kathy, and then I had a couple hours late yesterday with my friend Tracy, who I'm going to be seeing again at the retreat that I'm headed to late this evening. But before I get to my stitching today, I have something kind of special to share with you. I mentioned last week that I have been working on bringing in something from a friend of mine from the UK who is, her name is Fay, and her podcast that she puts out is called the Crochet Circle Podcast. And I will link to both her channel and her Instagram information in the drop-down box below. Her Instagram and her business name is Knit It, Hook It, Craft It. And Faye has a fancy pants laser cutter that she makes wood needle gauges on. And a little while back, I messaged her and I said, how would you feel about making a thread keep? And so we discussed size and hole placement, the size of the holes, so on and so forth. And so I went ahead and I had her make some thread keeps for the Friday Off the Grid group. Now these are for sale. I'm not giving them away. They were a little bit dear for me to bring in all the way from the UK, but I thought if there was anybody out there who wanted a little extra special Friday Off the Grid treat, I thought that this was something fun. So I have these available in my shop if you're interested. Thread keeps are certainly not necessary. They're something, I find them quite useful, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to use mine in just a second here. Now the one that I'm actually showing you is one of the, she sent me a couple of, she called them wonky, a couple of wonky ones where the lettering wasn't quite perfect. So the one that I'm using, this is mine, and the A on here hasn't quite been laser cut properly, but all the ones that are for sale are perfect. So I ordered 100 of these, and when they arrived in my house and I opened the box, sorry, Luna is getting her bone from her crate, so that's that banging noise that you hear. She might start chewing on it in a minute. I may have to edit that out. We'll have to see. Yeah. We'll see. Okay, so I ordered 100 of these, and when I opened the box and I could smell it's a beech wood that she uses, and provenance is really important to Fay. So where things come from, and how they're treated and how they are handled is very important, which I really respect. So the wood comes from Germany, and it's milled in the UK, and all of the information on how it comes to be is on the listing. I want to make sure I used Fay's wording in the details on the piece. There's very little waste from what she produces. All of the offcuts, even the little circles that are cut out, she turns them into stitch markers for knitters, and they're fabulous. She made a whole pile of Halloween ones lately, and they're really, really fun. And in fact, they came from the holes from our thread keeps, so I thought that was kind of fun. So my Friday Off the Grid party pants are on because today is Friday and it's time to stitch. So I thought I would show you what I'm going to do is I am going to prepare my thread keep to stay in my project bag with this project until I'm done. So I'm going to load this up with the rest of my floss that I have, and then I'm going to put the whole thing into a notions pouch inside my larger project bag, and then it will be neat and tidy. So I have 2 other skeins of this Dinky Dyes. So the color I'm using is Pacific Ocean. Dinky Dyes is a lovely 6-ply silk, and we're approaching that season, that winter season, where the cuticles start to get a little bit dry. So I have used some beeswax cuticle lotion before starting today because things are getting a little dry and a little snaggy. So this is the skein that I've been working with, and I've been keeping it as I usually do. I sort of just keep it in the circle, and then I pull a length and cut a length as I go. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare this. I'm going to cut it into lengths and load it onto the thread keep so that it is then ready to just be grabbed and pulled from the thread keep and get right to stitching. So when I stitch with a variegated cotton or a silk that has slight variations in the color tone throughout, I always make sure to use 2 strands, if I'm stitching with 2 strands and not 1, 2 strands that are going in the same direction. So you would pull them from the same length and then put them back together so that you make sure that all of the color is the same all the way down those 2 strands. And on a piece like this, I would probably stitch with about an 18-inch length of floss. So I have my quilting ruler here, and if you can see, I think you can see the end of it, but all you need to see is the 18 there. Because the silk Dinky Dyes comes in a circle like this, just like a DMC, if you open up the circle, as I'm going to be drawing from it, I want to make sure that I put my hand into the middle of the circle like that. What that's going to do is that's going to prevent it from becoming a big gigantic tangled mess. And then I'm going to take the end from the other side and then just keep that circle looped around your wrist as you pull the lengths off. So just measure, gotta reach for my scissors. There we go. So I'm just gonna measure 18-inch lengths here. And I'm just gonna let them lie next to each other. Doesn't have to be exact. It's just going to be, for me, approximately 18 inches. That might be too short for some of you. That might be too long. That's just my preference. Again, keeping my hand in there, you can see it's starting to get a bit messy down there, but that's okay because I'm keeping it in a circle by it being wrapped around my hand. So I'm not going to end up with disaster. That always happens when you're in a hurry, doesn't it? When you just want to get to stitching and then something happens, something goes sideways, and you end up with a big, gigantic, knotted mess. So, lost my end there. Where did it go? There it is. So I'm just going to finish off the one. My scissors open there, shouldn't have done that. I'm just going to finish off this one open skein. And then the other skein, I'm going to only open the second skein of the 3 and put the 2 skeins on my thread keep. And then that third skein I'm going to keep just in case I don't actually need to open and use that third skein. Okay, a fresh skein I would probably divide into a couple of holes on my thread keep. So my last piece isn't quite 18 inches long, and that's okay. Doesn't matter. Just put it, so that it's fairly even. Okay, so now I can get rid of my ruler and just make sure that my thread is neat and tidy. And then I'm going to take it in the center and I'm going to fold that length in half. So all of my ends are open at the end there. Take my thread keep, and then you're going to come through the middle of that so that the loop of the center of your threads goes through. So this is like how you would receive a skein of weeks or crescent colors. This is how they do that little loop knot that's at the top. And then all you do is open that circle, take the ends and pull them through, and then you've got a neat and tidy loop of thread. Now all of my silk is now cut to length, and it's organized and it's safe, and it's not going to end up in a big giant tangle. Now here's the real trick, and lots of you know this already. In order to get my next length of floss out, all I have to do, I do not have to remove the entire thing from the circle. I just take one of the lengths of 6. Let's put that back on the needle minder before I lose that. That's what needle minders are for, Caroline. So you just take, if you can just easily grab one. See that? How I've got a loop of the length, the length of 6. If you just separate that out, give it a gentle pull, it removes itself from the rest of the bundle, and the rest of it stays neatly attached to the thread keep. And that's how I use it. If I were going to be using my thread keep with more than just one color, then I would probably either have a little notepad where I just labeled the numbers, so from right to left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, DMC, 150, DMC 580, so on and so forth, and then tuck that sheet of paper inside the notions pouch with it. But I think that if you're like me, generally once you've been working on a piece for a while, you just know by looking at the floss which color it is, right? And so I would just keep that little chart paper that has the actual numbers written on it for reference, so that if I didn't work on the project for 5 years, then I would be able to come back to it. So there you go. There's my thread keep, and I will load my second skein onto it later today after I've done this video. So I am ready to go, and I don't even need this extra length right now because my needle is already loaded and ready to stitch. Okay, so let's figure out where we are. Got my pattern off to the side here. Such a beautiful, beautiful pattern. I'm really enjoying this stitch. So there we go. My lighting isn't great in the kitchen today. It's a fairly gray day, and because I have to hold the piece slightly further away from me because the camera's in the way, hopefully I won't make too many errors. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. There we go. So yesterday was a very eventful day. My daughter Sarah, she won an award. Now I'm really hesitant to give too much personal information here about the kids because, well, that's their life and it's not mine, and it's not really my story to tell, except in that I'm her parent and I'm extremely proud of her. So all you need to know is that she won an award and she got to give a speech last night, and I was incredibly proud of her. It was just kind of one of those magical moments where you look at your kid and you think, wow, you are something else, in a good way. Because I know we've looked at our kids in a negative way and said, boy, you are something else. Depends on your inflection, right? Depends on the tone of your voice. But last night, she shone, and it was remarkable to see. She has blossomed into a pretty fantastic small adult, and her dad and I are incredibly proud of her. So we went to this special event last night with her. It was Nicholas and I. John is up at the cottage. Unfortunately, he had to miss it. He was quite disappointed about that, but there was he couldn't not be at the, it's a long story, but there was stuff that was going on that he had to be there, and he couldn't get out of it. So he had to miss the event last night, which he was super bummed about. But Nicholas and I went, and we even dressed up. And we left Luna here in her crate. And now, this was not the first time I've left her here. So Luna, if I'll catch you up to speed, Luna is our new dog. She is a 6-year-old American Bulldog mix. We're not sure what she's mixed with. Maybe a bit of Boxer, maybe a bit of Lab. Who knows? But we are very fond of her. She's fit in quite nicely with us already. It's just been just over a week that we've had her. And so I've left her here at home a couple of times over the last week, and I've put her in her crate. She understands what her crate is, and she goes in willingly. She always gets a cookie when she goes in there, and up until now, hint, hint, everything's been fine. And it's only been for very, very short periods of time. You know, if I had to run an errand, go to the post office, or, drop off a box with FedEx. And so last night was going to be the first time that we were going to be gone for longer than, an hour. So I wanted to put her in her crate because we still are learning. We're still getting to know each other, and I wasn't exactly sure how her manners would be in the house, being out, not in the crate for an extended period of time. So I put her in the crate, and I put her water dish in there with her, and she's got a blanket in there, and we left. 5 hours later, we got home, and Sarah calls out to me I was in the mudroom, and she says, Mom, Luna's not in her crate. Yeah. She had managed to somehow, and I think it's because when we reassembled the crate last week, we didn't double check that all of the side clasps were clicked together. It's a really big crate, and there are the metal bits at the side that clamp the sides together. I mean, the crate is twice the size. It's huge. Okay, so I didn't feel like we were leaving her in a small confined space. She had enough room to move around a little bit and curl up and sleep, and her water dish was in there, and she had her blanket. So the side clasps, because they weren't done up properly, I think this is what happened. It gave her a little bit of wiggle room. And she's very, very smart. And I think what happened was that she realized that there was a little bit of wiggle room. And so she started working away at it. And by doing so, she managed to loosen the top closing mechanism, the top latch, which must have popped open. And then she jimmied her way out of the crate. She then proceeded to, she's tall. She's even taller than Daria was. And her head, it can be taller than the countertops. Well, she found the bag of liver training treats that I've been using. She ripped open the bag and she ate them all. And it was almost a full bag, and she ate them all. And then she went on the other countertop and she found the bag of pill pockets, those squishy flavored pill pockets that you can buy, because she's just finishing a round of antibiotics from last week. She has a small rash. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. Anyways, she found the bag of pill pockets and she ripped that open and she ate them all as well. Then she went upstairs and she drank all of the water out of the toilet. Yeah. And then she went into Sarah's room and she left her a present on her floor. A smelly present. And you know what I mean. And then she got into the garbage in Sarah's bathroom and spread it all over the floor in the bathroom. I can laugh about it now. I have to admit, I may have laughed about it last night, because what can you do? What can you do? I mean, and the thing is that you can be as mad as you want at the dog, but by then they don't get it, I mean, they're like a 2-year-old. So she knew she'd done something she wasn't supposed to do, because she greeted us at the door with her ears down and her tail down in between her legs. And so she already knew. And at that point, you're like, it's not really the fault of the dog that I didn't make sure the crate was secured, right? And she's going to have probably some fairly uncomfortable stomach moments over the coming 48 hours. So I think that's punishment enough. And really, at that point, you can't punish the dog for that, for what is effectively my mistake. So I have rechecked the clasps on the crate, and we now know that she's capable of doing that. So there you have it. That's my funny Luna story. She is curled up beside me on the floor here, and she's having a nap. So that was fun to come home to. But other than that, she didn't get into anything else. I'm not sure she had enough time to, because it depends on how much time it actually took her to get out of her crate, as to how much more naughty things she could have gotten into. But anyways, I think this looks off for some reason, but I don't think it is. I think it's just because my linen is a little crooked. Now, if you're watching me stitch this and you think, oh, that's so loose in there, how can she possibly stitch that? It doesn't bother me a bit. This is an 8x11 Q-snap, and the fabric isn't quite wide enough to have the clamps on the sides, so I just have that open, And that's why it's a little bit loosey-goosey in the middle there, but that has never bothered me at all. So just in case you were wondering. Okay, so that's all done. We can pop that in like that. So yes, so anyways, Nicholas is home from school today. It was a PA day. So I'm putting off heading to the retreat until late tonight, when both Sarah is coming home tonight, and also my sister-in-law is coming to spend some time with him as well while I'm at the retreat this weekend. So I won't be leaving until late tonight. But my friends, I'm looking forward to seeing my friends. I've been chatting with them and they are waiting for me. So I'm using this time to get caught up on some laundry and a bit more sewing that I've got to finish up today. And having a pretty nice day anyways, even though I'm not already at the retreat. There. That's that. Okay, where are we going here in the center? There. Oh, I thought that was a single line, but it's not. This is actually supposed to be a group of 3. All right, let's do that. So I've decided to take 3 projects with me this weekend. I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to take Savon because it is perfect retreat stitching. I can work on some of the fill-in while I chat with my friends. I don't have to worry too much about concentrating. And then when the room gets quiet, as people start heading off to bed, I usually like to stay up. I stay up really late at retreats. We are often the last people in the room, and the Elmhurst where we have the retreat, they're really good. They let us have the key to the room, the stitching room, and whoever is the last one in the room at night just takes the key back to the front desk. And then whoever is the first one up in the morning to stitch, they go and they get the key back from the front desk. And that way the room is locked all the time when there's no one in it. But we have control over how late or early we want to be in the room, which is fantastic. So most retreats there's a few of us who like to push, 2:30, 3 a.m. in the morning, just because, our time there is limited and we only get to see some of these friends a couple of times a year. So we take advantage of it, and we catch up on sleep when we get back home. It's really fun. So I'm taking, so Savon and this piece, and then I also thought I would take, because a couple of my other friends are taking their canvas pieces, and we're going to have a little canvas along and try to get some more work done on that. So mine will be the Starry Skies from Nancy's Needle that I've been working on for far too long. It's embarrassing how long I've been working on that, because seriously, I should have been. I have enabled people to stitch that, and they finished theirs a year ago. So it's kind of embarrassing that I'm not done that yet, but not embarrassing enough that it's forced me to actually pull it out and finish it, clearly. So anyway, that's okay. It's all good. It'll get finished eventually. I love this color blue. It's one of my favorites. And I am stitching this as a gift. I already, I had the person in mind when I chose it, when I chose the color, and when I chose the design. And I'm looking forward to having this done so that I can send it to her. So pretty. All right. Well, I hear my laundry beeping upstairs, and I better go, because I still have about 3 more loads to do before I can even pack my my bag to go. It's not all my stuff. I'm not taking 3 loads of laundry with me to retreat, but I need to make sure that Nicholas has some clean stuff and clean bedding before I leave for the weekend, so that his Aunt Heidi doesn't have to guess where things are. I should also maybe make sure there's some food in the house. Haven't done that yet. That would be nice of me, wouldn't it? All right, let's bring the needle up. So I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so there's going to be one more row. Oh, go on. Let's just finish these last 3 stitches here. And then this little part is done. This little rectangle. 3 stitches. Just 3 more. Just 1 more stitch. Just 1 more. That's me at night at retreat. Just 1 more length of thread. Let's just chat for 10 more minutes. Last one. And I'll leave it there. Okay. I'm going to leave my needle minder off of this one for traveling, just because. Okay, so that's where I'll be starting then for the weekend, this weekend. And hopefully on Monday I will have a ton of progress to share with you. That's the plan. Okay, so just one more little plug for my little needle keep, because I'm just so thrilled with it. I have it for sale on my Shopify store, which is, you can find that www.evertote.com. And there should be a link in the drop-down box below. A couple of people have had problems getting onto my site. I have a feeling it has something to do with clearing your cache on your computer, because it tries to take you to Etsy. And the Etsy shop is no longer open. So you'll just get an error message or something that says, oops, we can't find what you're looking for. Something like that. But if you go into your settings on your browser and you clear the cache and then you try again, or you just type directly into Google, the search bar at the top, www.evertote.com, it should take you to the right place. And I'm pretty happy with my little thread keep. I've been admiring it for the last couple of days, I'll tell you that. All right, that's it for me. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I hope you're excited about high tea if you're participating for the first time, or if you're celebrating with us for the umpteenth month in a row. I will see you on Sunday. And I might take my high tea start with me to the Elmhurst, and then maybe I can record that video on Sunday morning before I leave, because that might be kind of fun. And then I can maybe show you the retreat room. That's it for me. Oh, you hear that? I think she's heard somebody at the door. Oh dear, wouldn't want to be on the other end of that. She's very brave. Happy stitching, happy weekend, and I'll see you Sunday for high tea.